But one thing I did want to bring up, which is I came across by accident, was apparently you have some obsession with tearing phone books. Is is this something that still persists? If you see a phone book, you're...
I mean, I would love to keep doing it. The problem is, like,
They're hard to get, right?
They're very hard to get. So I haven't done one. I haven't torn a phone book in years, so I'd have to like start practicing again. But if I could wave a magic wand and find like the right size phone books, because I'd have to probably start with tiny phone books and work my way back up to the technique.
The high level, if you don't want to get into the full story, that's fine. But just like, this is probably the hardest I've ever laughed at a piece of your content. If you want to just tell people the backstory of what I'm even talking about.
Yeah. So it was, let me think. I was in my final year of college, and I was at my then girlfriend's best friend's house, and her husband came home, and his name was Todd, awesome guy. We were friends for a long time. And he was like, he walked in the door with a phone book, and it was like, the town I went to, the phone book was that thick. So not a huge phone book, but a pretty thick phone book, right? So what is that, like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches? And he goes, "Hey, do you think you could tear this?" And I'm like, I doubt it. He goes, "Just try." So he throws it to me, and I can't do it. And then he takes it and he tears it. And I'm like, "Dude, how did you do that?" He goes, "Oh, it's this technique." And I'm like, "No way. Do you have any more phone books?" He's like, "Yeah, I got one more." So he gives it to me and he walks me through it, and I managed to do it, but it's not that elegant. Like he just ripped it, and I was like, and I kind of muscled through it. And I was like, "Dude, we got to go get more of these." So this is like back in the mid to early 90s or whatever, maybe mid 90s. So we drive to like the Bell Canada phone center in the mall, where they have like a wall of phone books.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Hey, we're here to get some phone books." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And then I came up with this elaborate, stupid story about how I worked at a kids camp, and we needed to do a lot of paper mache, and we just needed tons of phone books. And the woman's like, "Whatever." So I take out like 50. I mean, we carried as many phone books out as we could, took them back to his place, and then all night just worked on it until I nailed it. And then I became completely and pathologically obsessed. And
Like, was this other guy also obsessed, or you just...
He liked it, but I took it to a whole other level. Now I couldn't stop tearing phone books.
Yeah.
So I would ride my bike. This is back when you had phone booths. The phone booths had phone books. Every time I was riding my bike and I saw a phone booth, I'd get out, tear the phone book, keep riding. I was like a menace to society.
Yeah.
And this carried on for many, many years. So then I go off to med school. I'm like the phone book tearing guy. By the way, when I was applying to medical school, I had a spreadsheet of all the factors that like went into where I would go. One column was size of phone book in the town appropriate. So Stanford placed really high because San Francisco had a really good size phone book.
And how would you vet that beforehand?
I didn't. When you interview, like once you go there, you check the phone book sizes.
Gotcha.
So first thing I looked at when I landed at SFO is how big is the phone book? Oh, perfect. That's a good tearing size. Because Toronto sucked. Toronto's is too big. Like I could never tear Toronto's phone book, right? It's like 4 inches thick.
Okay.
This just kept going on and on and on. And then my wife tells this story, which I do remember, but I didn't think it was that big a deal. I didn't think it was that odd. But on our second date, happened to be like a night when that day phone books were delivered. So we're like walking around kind of like an area of Baltimore that's not that sketchy. And there are phone books on every stoop. And I was like, "Hey, do you want to see me tear a phone book?" And she's like, what? And I grab a phone book and I tear it. And she's like, "Oh, why did you do that?" And I was like, "Isn't it cool?" She's like, "No, not really." And then we walked and there was another one. I said, "Do you want to see me do it again?" She's like, "Not really." And I was like, "Watch." And then I just kept tearing phone book.
And it didn't occur to you at all that she might think this is a weird deal breaker?
Didn't care. I just didn't, like, I wasn't doing it for anybody but me. It's like when I saw a phone book, I had to tear it.
Okay.
So.
And since then, though, how many do you think you've gone through in total?
I don't think I've torn a phone book in 10 years. I don't.
Holy
do they
shit.
do they still exist?
Yeah, and I brought you some.
Come on.
Yeah. It's my gift to you this time for hosting. I went far and wide to find the bank.
You know, it's funny. I asked you when you came over, you going to the airport, and you were like, "No." And I was like, "Why did you bring your suitcase?" All right. So this is a Vancouver phone book. All right, what do we got? Okay, this will be a good starter book. This is like about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch.
Vancouver one. It's just it's not that bad actually.
Yeah, it's about the same size. All right.
And we've got this this Telus one, which I guess is also Vancouver.
Ooh.
Apparently.
Yeah, I wouldn't start with this, but I should be able to do this back once I get back in the swing of things.
And I've got another Vancouver one, which is good. And then
I would have thought Vancouver was bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
And then this Telus one might be the biggest, but it seems to be.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. All right, so you want me to tear one? Okay. All right, so I've never done it sitting down, but if I stand up, I'll fall out of frame. So I'm going to have to do this sitting down.
I wasn't sure if you'd still be into it, so I'm quite happy to hear that.
I mean, I would love to do it. I hope I still can. All right, so I'm going to explain the technique. I don't have a hard time like sharing the secret. So most people, if I said, hey, tear something, like tear a piece of paper, what would you do? So mimic with your hands what you would do with a piece of paper. Yes, you would shear it, right? Okay, so you can't shear a phone book, or maybe somebody can, but most people could never shear it. So instead, what you want to do is split it.
Okay.
So to split it, you
and
have
lengthwise specifically.
No, it's actually easier this way because you have more to grab.
Gotcha.
But I typically do it this way. So to do it, you have to have a gradient in the paper, a gradient of tension, if that makes sense. In other words, I need to split it from the back where the paper is the tightest up to where the paper is the loosest.
And
does that make sense?
How contingent is this on grip strength?
Oh, very much so.
So this is like a longevity metric.
Sure. Yeah. And also hand size. I truly think even when I was at my peak, which is like I was in beast mode, I could never tear like the Toronto phone book because I could never get enough hand
I heard you
around.
say the Toronto one was so significant, and so I was like, what's going on with the Vancouver one?
So anyway, so I put it into this position here.
All right.
And then I'm going to split it by moving my hands this way.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
Right on.
All right. So that's how you tear a phone book.
That's awesome, man.
And if you can get me more of these, because I'm obviously this is pretty easy, so I gotta quickly try to get to one of these. I wonder if I could do this.
You should go put it in front of your wife and be like, "Look what I got."
Oh yeah, just traumatize her. Actually, I want to do it for my kids.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I'm glad you like the phone books, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Amazing gift.